Hey guys, it's Maymay, and I have a rare moment today. I have a Saturday morning to myself. Um, that's rare because our life has been so chaotic lately. But Vinny's off playing golf with the boys. I had a morning to myself, and I was like, what can I do with my time? I normally try to hurry into the video, but I want to tell you what my plan is today, real quick, okay? So, I've been doing some planning for some future videos and some future classes and things that are coming up. And while doing so, I kept getting distracted by these cute little Easter cards, these little spring cards. And I'm like, I really want to do those, but they need some prep work to do it. So, I thought, what if I took the time this morning to do the prep work and then I'll show you what my plan is to do with those cards? So, that's kind of what I'm going to do today is some of that prep work. The prep work is a lot of ink blending, okay? Because all of the card techniques I want to do need ink blending in some way to complete the card. So let's talk about ink blending. I'm going to be blending in bunches of different ways. We're not going to do just one kind of thing. I'm just going to play and do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to first start the easy way. I thought I'd do easy first and then we'll work into other tips and tricks. The easy way is this stuff. This is Express It blending cardstock. It's gorgeous. Let me open it. What I mean by gorgeous is it is literally like silk. It feels like silk in your hand. It is a beautiful, nice layering weight cardstock. So you can really do a lot with this guy and get beautiful results from it. Now, I would not normally do this, but because I want to make a lot of projects, I was thinking it might be fun to ink blend one full sheet. But then again, that might be a lot of work. So maybe what I'll do is break this into 4 pieces. So let's do that to make it more manageable. Now, why 4 pieces, you might ask? Because I know I can make 4 card fronts out of it if I do that. And I really could make more than that. But if I start with these guys kind of broken down, I can just play and see where things go. So love too that this cardstock is A2 size cardstock, so we can get 4 card fronts. And notice that I'm cutting them 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so they will become mats and other things, but this gives me lots of space to work with. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to use different ways of ink blending. Let me show you. So one way is right onto my glass mat. With the glass mat, I can get it dirty. I can do anything I want with it, and I can tape down directly to it, and I can just do a lot of work with my glass mat. Love this guy. It's linked below. It's one of my favorite tools, right? But I also have this guy. Now, this is kind of a what do they call it? Like a Franken tool. Okay, that's what I was trying to think of. I kind of made this happen, okay? This is the We Are Memory Keepers rotating cutting mat. This is actually from one of my stamp wheels. This is the insert from a stamp wheel. So rather than me having to buy a separate sticky mat, I just picked up one of these guys. And this is another great way to do ink blending because I can put my cardstock down. It sticks here, okay? And then I can spin this guy around. And I still have another tool we can use, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I thought it'd be fun for me to kind of mess around with tools and let you see that. Okay, so let's start with this guy. I'm also going to bring out another tool. I don't know where this video is going. Also, it's been a while since I've done a video, so we're just going to have fun, okay? This is my ink den. If you've not seen an ink den before, this is a tool that I made with my friend Clack. You can see the Clack Shack and Maymay made it. This holds ink pads, and it has little grippy feet, so it sits still on my surface. I'm going to put my ink pads in here that I'm going to blend with, okay? Let me show you how this works. What you do, these spaces inside of here are 3 different sizes, okay? And it'll make sense as we go today, but this is a VersaFine Clair ink pad. I'm going to be placing them into the ink den to hold them still for me. They kind of click in sometimes, just depending on how many times you've used your ink den. Like, you just have to kind of click them into place, but they sit still. These ink pads actually sit down into that little divot, so that's how these fit. You can see the hole is actually bigger. It has 3 different levels for 3 different shapes of ink pads. So here we go. Now, we're going to start easy peasy, okay? We're going to start with 3 shades of one color. I'm not getting fancy. I'm not having to think. I just want to play, and I just want to get started. I'm going to use one brush, okay? Now, the trick for one brush is a cloth for me. Now, If you watch people ink blend, there are so many different ways to do things, but for me, this is my trick. I'm going to have this cloth beside me. I'm going to spray it with some stamp cleaner, some ink cleaner, okay? So I'm going to get it good and moist in the middle. And what I'm going to do, I'm using the same color. In between them, I'm just going to clean off on this rag, okay? Now, this brush is a waffle flower brush, and what I have is I have multiple sets of these, okay, depending on my inks. I have them for dyes and I have them for pigments, and I even am fortunate enough, because this is my job, that I have them for my ink lines, okay? So I have some for Versaclear, for distress ink, for my dye inks and everything. I keep them separate, but you can use the same one. You just have to do the cleanup technique in between, okay? Now, we're going to start. Also, let me say this. Some of you might be watching today and going, I didn't know we could blend with our regular inks. I didn't know we could use our pigment inks or our regular dye inks to blend. You absolutely can. You're just going to get different results, okay? Some of them are going to take more work and some are going to take less work. Pigment is going to take less work. And this, if everything goes to plan here, which I don't know because I hadn't started, this should be super easy because I'm using a juicy pigment on a blended page, okay? So if you're someone who struggles getting those colors to blend together really well, this should be a trick for you, okay? Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start with my lightest color and see how the ink den holds that still for me so I can just use one hand and this one can stay over here. Also, notice how I'm not holding up super low on the handle like this. I don't have the same control down here that I do up here. I like to kind of keep my fingers in this area. Now, I did not clean this brush before I started. That might be dumb. See how pink it is? Let me do that. So I'm going to waste a little ink here. That's on me. But I didn't think about that. I don't know what color I ended with. So I better clean that up a little bit. Okay, so I've cleaned it off on my cloth. I'm picking up the lightest pink. Now, I expect, because this is pigment on this nice cardstock, for this to be kind of juicy. Let's see. Because of that, I'm going to start off a bit. Okay. So I'm going to start off the page. I wish you could see this. I wish you could feel it. From the matte to this silky cardstock is such a difference. The way, or from the sticky pad to this silky cardstock, like the slip, that's what I want to say. The slip of this cardstock is incredible. Now with ink blending, we struggle a lot of times with our ink blending techniques because we think they should go quick. And on video, you see people do this and it takes them seconds to do it. Ink blending is not quick. It's just not. But it's fun because you have a lot of control, okay? You might feel like you don't have control, but you do. You see how kind of splotchy that looks? I can stop here because I can use this as a technique. But the truth of the matter is, I really want to keep going and I really want to keep working this color because I want it to be very prominent, right? So I'm just working this color in. Also, start and stop in different places along the page. If you always start here, you're going to be dark in spots. You can see where I have started. I need to start here now to kind of blend that in together and even that out. So a lot of times when you're watching people do their ink blending videos, number one, you may not see how much they're going back into their ink pad. You may not see how long they're spending time doing this. And it makes you feel like mine doesn't work that quick. Why? Now, once I've got some ink on the page, I'll kind of work my brush to kind of get some of that off. And also, when you're using 3 colors of ink, like I am, you want to give yourself a third of the page for each color. For what I'm doing right now. If you were doing something different, let's say you wanted this to be more of a mountainside and then a little bit of sky, then you might want to work your way up. But for me, I want a 3-color blend, right? So now I've got this started. I'm going to carry it down a bit. I'm going to go a little bit further down on my page. I also like to start the ink blend not by just touching the page. I'm inking it up. I'm not just going to touch the page. I kind of start my motion before I get down to the page. Does that make sense? So I kind of get started with my swirly motion and then touch the page so I don't end up with a harsh spot where I started. This is where we would literally edit this out, you know, because this is going to take me a minute to get this blended like I want it. And this is where preference comes in, okay? You may not want a super solid color blend, but for me, my issue is I'm doing this on camera for you guys, and camera is not kind to ink blending. Unless you're using like an Oxide where it's really, really juicy, camera is just not very kind. It really blows out the colors. Now, I'm going to stop here for now with this color, and I'm going to go to my second color. Because of the way I'm working, because I'm working light to dark, I really don't have to clean my brush. You can, but I can just keep going here. So I'm going to pick up my next color, and this is where things can go south if you're not careful. Don't start here. You want to start right here. Start to the side, okay? Because if it's too much, we can always edit our way in. So I'm going to start off and work my way across. So I'm just seeing how this blend is going to go. So I'm going to pick up again. Now I'm going to start over here and work my way across. Now, I probably edited some of that out because I've been working a little bit, but you saw how long it took me to do the top. I have been inking and sliding and spinning for a while because I really want this to be a soft, seamless situation. Now, this is not my finished product. This is just me getting some color laid down, okay? We're going to come back and do some more to this to kind of tie it all together in just a little bit. But this is kind of getting my gradient set, all right? So as much as I think this is pretty, the colors, it's not the blend I want. I'm going to go ahead into my darker color and start working my way from the bottom. You can see why I really like this little turntable, because it's easy for me to get this where I want it. I can get my hand where I want to be, instead of if this was taped down to my work surface, I'm having to kind of work where it wants me to. And this way, I can get into all the spaces easily because I can turn this the way I want it. So there's 3 colors laid down, and that's decent, and it would look fine, but I really want it more blended. So what I'm going to do now is take my brush to my cloth and clean it. And if you're unsure if you've got it very clean, use just some scrap paper and see if any picks up. And you can see here that it's not on my little Post-it pad. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back into my lighter ink, the lightest one, okay? And I'm going to start to blend even using it on top of everything I've done. This is going to be my... almost, it would have been a primer if we'd have started with it, which you could. You could do the whole page in this light pink to start. I'm using this light color as kind of the color that is the unifier. It's going to fill in all those spaces where I don't feel like I love the way my blend looks. And it just kind of makes everything pop, makes everything a little brighter and brings it all together. Even though it's not the same color, it's not the same one, it's the lighter color that we're using. But what it does is it just kind of brings everything together. This is kind of that final touch when you're like, I don't love how this is looking. Make sure you do this part. Go back in with your lighter color and really go to town. And one thing about it is, because it's the lightest color, we're really not going to mess anything up because we're not really going to change the hue in any way, because these colors are all stronger than it. So it doesn't compete. It just complements. This is like, for me, when I'm using alcohol markers, this is like the white or the clear blending brush. This is kind of what this does. It just kind of goes in and says, let me bring everybody together. And I'm sure on camera you can see how that's starting to really come together now. Now, from here down, I think I'm going to go back into my dark color again. And I'm going to hit this right here in this area and blend that a little more. Now we've done a lot on this page, a lot of blending, and I could still do so much more, but I really like how it's starting to look. Now I'm picking up and I'm being very specific where I'm laying down, because I'm really wanting to fill in. And I love how that's starting to look. I wish on camera you could see it the same that I do. The camera just takes all the white and just shows you that. Anywhere there might be white, that's what you're really seeing. But I can really see the blend on the cardstock. Okay, I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to bring it up to camera and see if it'll get better if I can get it in the light for you. It's really stuck down, but it's so pretty. Look at that. Even though it's not this super, super like smooth, like I left some of the texture in there, it's still so pretty. And there's so much less texture showing in real life than on camera. Do you see that little bit of a shine? That's because of the cardstock. The cardstock has that silky layer, and I think that's really pretty. Okay, that is a 3-color blend, okay? I'm going to put this on the side because we're going to use this for a project later. With that one, we use this guy. I wanted you to see how that works. This time, I'm going to use my work surface. So this is my glass mat, okay? So you can't really tell that on camera, but this is glass. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tape this guy down. And this is kind of a cool technique also. So I have this thin yellow tape that I'm going to glue. I'm going to tape this down with, and it's going to become my little border on the edge of my work as well. So put that there. Have one at the top. So this will give me the same kind of a 1/4 inch border all the way around, and it holds my paper down at the same time. You don't have to use this size yellow tape. You can use regular tape, just let it hang off a little bit. This is just what I want to use. And I am still using the ink blending cardstock, the one that's made for it. We'll change that up in a little bit. Okay, so there's that. Now, because it's my glass mat, I don't really care about the outside surface, no big deal. Something else you can do is you could take this tape and you could make like quadrants, like sections using the tape, and you could ink blend differently in each of those sections, which is another thing, but that's not what I'm here today to do. Now, these are the inks I want to play with now. These colors, they do fit in your ink bandit, but these colors are not colors you might think to blend. These colors are, you know, different from each other in so many ways, right? Because they are all completely different families of color. Let me show you another trick. Now, you know, this is the mat I just used to ink blend on. I can take this guy, open him up, and sit him over here on that mat, and he won't wiggle. Watch. I just dropped him, right? Now I can do this. So if you don't have an ink bandit, you may have a silicone mat that'll hold things still, and that would be cool too. All right, so yellow, I'm going to start at the top. Now this is much more restrictive to me because I can't roll this around, and this is dye ink. So you're going to see a different result than you did with the pigments on this dye. And for this one, I just want to play and have fun. So I've laid some yellow down. Now I want to go into this green. It's called Mint Chill. By the way, these are the 49 and Market dye inks, and the colors are just stunning. All right, so we're going to pick up some of this. I'm going to start off and work my way on. And on the glass mat, what makes that so cool and so easy is I don't get the drag. With this guy, my ink would drag, and you can see how much of my ink is around where we were working a while ago. And that separation, that difference between that sticky mat to this is such a difference because I'm working from slick to slick, where here I was working from grab to slick, and that can sometimes grab your brush. So that's a cool thing to look at too here. I'm going from slick glass to slick cardstock, and my movement is so much more cohesive. Nothing's grabbing me or pulling me one way or the other. I'm going to move this aside so I can start from the other side. So here I'm going to come across, and I hate this because my hand's all in the way for you guys, but I do have to be kind of over the top. Let me see if I can sit to the side. If I sit to the side, that might make things easier for you. So there's a pale, pale green. It's actually stronger on camera than in here, than in real life, which is funny because typically it's brighter on camera. You can see the pigment better. Let me do a little bit more. I want to add some into the center section. Now, the trick I told you a while ago about taking this color and going over all the others we're going to lay down won't work the same here. The reason is because yellow and green mixed together are not going to look the same, where I was taking a light pink into a darker pinkish color into a darker pinkish color. If you do that here, you could get muddy, so we're not going to do that trick here. Look how light that color is. It's barely even on my brush. Okay, watermelon is next. Love this color. I've not tested this blend, by the way. I just thought these colors looked pretty and I thought we would try it. So here we go. Little watermelon across the middle. Watermelon is strong. It comes in and it says, "You see me?" I like that though. I think it's pretty. Watermelon is not playing. So I'll come back with the green and do a little blend here where they meet. Cool. Now, my last color is this pretty purple. I'm going to put these lids on so I don't put my hand in them. You don't have to do that. This is just me because I do not like to get messy. You can leave them undone. So into our purple. These colors blend incredibly beautifully. So pretty. I even like these better than the pigments. I think they are for blending. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to go back into the yellow for a minute. Bring it down onto that green a little more. And these even blend quicker, which is great. It's so interesting for these to be dye inks and to move like they do. Now, without putting any more ink on my brush, I'm going to work this center. I'm going to work this watermelon again and see if I can move it out a little bit, soften it up a little bit, and just marry the colors together. I think I will pick up a little more green, or mint chill it's called. Bring it right into the center and really get us some green in there. Beautiful. Now, here's something else you can do. Like I told you today, I'm just kind of playing and getting these backgrounds done, right? But when you do a background you really love, you can snap a photo of it and then you can make a note of what inks you use so you can do it again. Or if you want to change it up anyway, you can. You'll know what you used. All right, let's peel and reveal. A tip for peeling and revealing is see how I'm laying my tape completely flat on my surface as I roll it back. This is a good way to keep from tearing, okay? I put this tape straight down without conditioning it. You know, sometimes we'll condition tape by putting it on our jeans or our shirt or whatever and make it a little less sticky. I did not do that with this one, so I'm taking my time and peeling this away. Now, one thing working in my favor is that I'm using the ink blended cardstock, and it's really, really soft and silky, so it's pretty easy to get that off. Move that out of my way. Now, this is not wasted. We're going to put this on our work surface, and we're going to use it again and again. These inks, by the way, are water reactive, so if I wanted to at this point, I could play with some water technique. We'll do that on another blend we're going to do in a few minutes, and I'll show you how to even change the whole look at the end. I really like how this one turned out, so I want to use it just as it is. Look at that beautiful finish. Oh my goodness, I just love that. I'm going to give y'all full disclosure. I have not played with blending these inks yet. This is my first time to do them like this with a brush. It's incredible. That is so beautiful, the blend. Love that piece. Okay, that's 2 done. This time to do something different, I just have my little sticky mat stuck right on my glass mat, so you can even do that, right? And this time, we're going to use a different kind of brush, okay? Because you get different results from different things. This brush is a wire, not wire, but a coarse little distress brush. Do you see how coarse those bristles are? So you're going to get something completely different from it. And the way these work is you pull this out to close in the bristles before you put the lid on. That way it keeps your bristles nice and protected. Now, you don't have to use this brush with these. These are my distress inks, my minis. I just love these guys. Look at all these. So I have oxides and I have regular. I'll move everything aside. These are my regulars. Got to get everything in a pile. Don't have as many oxides. I have these that are oxides, and we'll talk about those too. Now, I'm going to use regular distress because I want you to see this brush. Let's say we're going to kind of do maybe rainbow color this time. Let me stick this guy down. Actually, I'm going to clean this first. I want to show you guys something too that I think is really cool. This is my scrubber for cleaning stamps. Remember, this thing right here that's from my stamp wheel is just a stamp. So I can just kind of do this and scrub it. And I really love this. Look how nice that is. Instead of just using my cloth on it, spray it, scrub it with the scrubber, and go to town. Love it. And it picks up all that ink. I can set that aside and I can get my little cloth and dry it. Now I don't have anything on there that's going to pick up. All right, let me let that dry for a second. That'll also bring the sticky back, which is really cool. Like if you've lost any of your tack, that'll bring the tackiness back. So we'll let that dry and we'll move on. So I have multiple stamp wheels, and this is one I'm going to sit to the side. Now, my stamp wheel has little feet, so it sticks to my glass mat, okay? These are the ink colors I chose, and I don't have a little thing to lock them in, but they will lock onto this guy, okay? So I'm going to open them up, and I'm going to place them over here like I want them. They will sit, so whenever I'm inking, I can do it right there. I'm going to switch this in a second. I'm going to get them placed, and then I'm going to switch it because I'm right-handed, not left-handed. But I'm just going to get these guys lined up. So they're just sitting on there right now, but as I go to press, they'll hold in place for me. So let me get everything set up for my hand. And then we'll pick up a brush. Now, I'm going to start with red. I'm going to do a rainbow, and I'm going to lay this on the wonk. Matter of fact, I may turn the whole thing on the wonk. Should I just say crooked? Probably. I'm going to lay that like that for a second. Turn this way for my hand, okay? Now, picking up a brush, going into red, and watch how it'll hold. See how it holds on my mat because of the sticky mat down there? And I'm picking up the red, right? This is a different look, okay? So I'm going to, I think I'll just go across. So doing like this, and I'm just going to blend across. And I'm going to get this streaky blend because of the bristles of this brush. So all your blends today will look a little bit different, and you'll go, that's my favorite, or that's my favorite. You'll pick. So there's that one. Now the other thing, or one of the things I really like about these kinds of brushes is they clean really easy because they're really stiff bristle. And I'm using Distress ink, which is water reactive. So I've got my cleanser on my brush, and the more I work it, the cleaner it gets. Do you see that? All right, so we're going to let that be clean because we're going to blend again with the next color. And my next color is in that same family. We're going to go to orange. We're Roy G. Biven this one. And now I'm just going to come underneath and do that same stripey across. That's beautiful. Now to blue. I am going to clean a little bit. I noticed a while ago it kind of changed my color. It kind of diluted it basically. So I'm going to clean a little bit and then pick up some blue. Don't you love this tip for using this to hold your ink pads? Amazing. These stamp wheels, they are worth their money. Honestly, you can do so much with them. I use them for so many things in the craft room. All right, we've got one more color, and you can see I've used one brush. I haven't even changed from this brush. Even though it's getting a little stained, it's no big deal. Now into purple. And by the way, what I'm using is Distress ink, not Oxide, and I'm using that Express Blended cardstock. That is one of the changer, the game changers is that blended cardstock. It just makes it easy to blend. If you were doing this on a regular cardstock, you get a little more drag than I'm getting. Okay, this blends beautiful to me. It's soft, it's gentle. Let me bring it up to the surface or to the camera so you guys can see it. Look how beautiful. Soft and easy, nice little blend. You could do so much with this one, and I'm going to call that one done. Now, before I move on from these colors, I've got this other thing I want to try, which I saw online, and I have never done this, so we're going to see how this goes. This person I saw online put their cardstock down, and they streaked the ink directly onto the paper. Matter of fact, I think I'll do this on the glass mat because I don't want that much ink on here. it'll just grab it. So let's put this guy down like this. I'm going to tape it into place. While I'm doing this, let's talk about this. One of the things I love about doing what I'm doing today is this. You can't mess this up. This is not a project that you can start and be like, well, I messed that whole thing up, because all of the backgrounds you create are usable. In some way, they are all usable because you're just making cardstock. That's all you're doing. And you can turn them into so many different things. So this is one of those easy, no stress, just get in the craft room and play techniques. All right, now, my glass mat was a little bit wet. I don't know if they're going to stick well. This is what they did, and I'm going to see how this goes, okay? Never tried this before. They took the ink pad. Now, I have ink dragged. We've done that before. They took their ink pad, and they dragged it directly onto the surface. Everything's sticking now. They just dragged it directly down. Then they took their brush. I'm going to take a clean brush here. Then they took a brush and they went to town. I'm not getting much movement from that. I'm not sure how they did that. I feel like by the time I get down here, mine was a little bit dry. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use some water and see how that goes. Because these are distress inks and they're water reactive, this paper is not the best for water, to be honest with you, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to take some water and mist. And I'm using one of those mister bottles so I can hopefully get the best result. And now we'll do it. See what happens when we add the water. I'm not loving it, but I'm going to keep going. Going to blend all the way down. The paper's starting to peel because it's not really made for this technique, so I'll need to clean that off. But again, we're not wasting it because this is still a cool background. All right, let's wipe this up. What I think I want to do, rather than give up here, which I might want to, I think what I want to do is I want to try this on a different cardstock. This was just the last piece I had from the 4 that we cut when we started, and I thought we might as well try it. But let's try this on a watercolor cardstock and see if we don't like the result better. Although, I got to be honest, I don't mind it. It's kind of cute, isn't it? I think this would make a really cute project. Let's let it dry. So these I already had cut. I'm going to tape these down to my surface. Since I had so many cut, why don't we just play with them all at one time? Remember, we're just playing today in the craft room. I do not know. I'm going to turn these into projects, but I'm not making them for a specific project. So I'm going to sit these here. Let's try that technique again, and this time directly to watercolor. So I'm going to drag this ink across and maybe even be a little richer and thicker this time. Little more lay down there. So let's do red and then orange. I do love how this is picking up on this watercolor cardstock even more than the Express It. So that's another cool thing too. You'll be like, you know what? For my distress ink, I want to use it on this cardstock. And for this ink, I want to use it on that cardstock. I'll be honest with you, that 49 in Market and that Express It was like a match made in heaven. This watercolor, which is really more what these are, developed for in some ways. Okay, there's that. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to mist this with water. And I really think I could just let it do its thing and love how that looks. But let's do this with the brush again. Let's do what they were doing. That person took their brush and blended across. Oh, this is going to be pretty. I'm cleaning in between colors right when they get together because I don't want to muddy the one underneath. See right where they mix? Just dabbing it off on my cloth to the side. Pretty. Don't overwork it. That's what I tell myself, and then I go do it. I do need to pick up right here, but I'm not sure if that brush is ready for this. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to let that one dry. Love how it looks. I think I'll even lay this down and pick up all the excess so we can move on to that next one sitting next to it. I'm literally just playing in the craft room today. But I'm learning a lot. I'm learning different things that I like and different things that I don't like. So that's kind of cool. Let's do a whole different color family here. This next technique could be wrong, but we'll see. I think it might be cool. It could just be not what we want to do. I think I'll move this out of the way. I really love that one. That one turned out really, really pretty. It's nowhere near dry. That was a pretty good, easy technique right there, and you could do it with any color. Okay, check this out. So I saw this girl do this, and I thought, I love this because I love a primer, right? I love something that like if you're doing your makeup and you put a primer finish down, or if you're painting a wall and you put a primer down, I think it changes everything. Full disclosure, the person I saw do this did not do it on watercolor cardstock, but I think it will work. I could be wrong. We may find out. She took the lightest color of her blend in Oxide. It was specifically the Oxide ink. Took the lightest color of her blend, okay, picked it up on her brush, and she covered the whole surface in it first. These Oxides blend pretty on watercolor. Looks so splotchy on camera. I wish y'all could see what I see. I'm sorry. It does not look as good on camera. Okay, so she did that. Then she took her second color for her blend, and she just pretended like that's layer one. She took her second color and went right under it and started her blend underneath, but on top of that layer of Oxide she'd already laid down. And what she said was, by having that Oxide down as kind of a primer, it gives the other Oxide something to blend into. And listen, this is watercolor cardstock I'm using right now, which is a grabber of ink. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so dry, it's so matte. Look at that beautifulness. I think that's gorgeous. Even on camera, it looks better. In person, it's beautiful. And even on camera, it looks better. So there's that. I'm going to go back. Let me get my cloth to be cleaning in between. I'm going to clean some of that off. I'm going to go back to this gray, and I'm going to blend that top into that blue I just laid down a little bit more. These Oxides really blend. Now that is a very gentle transition. Let's see if we can add a little more blue there. The colors I chose are going to be a gentle fade. They're not going to be sharp. Not pretty, that gray to that blue. Okay, so now let's go to our next color blue, laying it over our Oxide again, having our little pigment layer basically. This is a bright color. We might see a big transition here. Honestly, I feel like having that color underneath really is forgiving. Do you see how bright this is right here, and see how it changes in here? That is so forgiving. I think this might be my favorite way to do this. Let's see. At least with Oxides, I think it just almost gives you a surface to float on, if that makes sense. And remember, this is watercolor cardstock. I may have to try this on regular cardstock in just a second. We could do it with the very same colors to see what it looks like. All right, the last one is the dark. And again, we've got our layer, our primer layer down there, like ready to accept the color. Look at that. Wow. Man, I wish camera would show y'all better. Maybe if I did this in a darker room. That is quite possibly the prettiest blend in person that I've done so far. Okay, I'm going to, what am I going to do? Do I want to go back? Let's see if we can just pull that up. I really want a little more of this center color here, this paler blue. I am so sad that on camera that does not do this justice. Maybe I just keep going until it does. Let's see if we can make it super, super solid. Okay, for me, guys, hands down, that's the way to go. That was incredible. Now, it is specifically Oxide, okay? I do have an idea to try this with a white pigment and then blending on top of that. We may do that. We'll see. This one turned out stunning. My plan originally was to do some water on here and get a different technique. I don't want to. The blend is too pretty. I want to use this for something. I saw a card. I think this one would look really good done in. So we're not going to wet this, but you could. We'll wet the next one. All right, so pick this one up. My word, that's the prettiest one so far. Love that one. Beautiful. Okay, let's do this guy. Want to hear the saddest thing that happened today so far? Although I'm having a great time in the craft room, I dropped 2 trays of these on the floor. So now they're all over the place. What happened was the excitement. I was enjoying myself so much, I just threw them on the floor. The thing you have to pay attention to with this technique, I think, is you've got to have a light color that won't change the other colors, okay? So I've got that color, which could be, that is Bundled Sage, which could be my primer. That one could go, I'm not sure, maybe it's primer, this. Ooh, this makes it difficult, doesn't it? I say we're just playing, and I say that's what we do. We just play. I don't love these together. I do like this one together. I don't love that. I don't mind that. Let's just try that. Let's just try it. It can't hurt. Ooh, I got to wash my hands a little bit. I know we're off to this side, but I hope you'll just allow me that for now. Primer, which might be wrong, but we're going to do it together and see. I don't think it can be the primer color all the time. I really think looking at the pads, and I bet you will agree, you're probably already saying it. Looking at the ink pads, I could probably use this as my primer, but I think I'm not. I'm going to go back to my gray, and I'm going to do that first. And maybe I just won't lay down quite as much this time. Cleaning off my brush from the last one. Picking up the gray. We'll just do a nice, even coat just to apply the oxide. Some of this, of course, is that this is oxide. Oxide is created for a simple blend. Like, it's made to do that. So some of it is that. But like I said, I did think it might be cool to try the white pigment underneath and see what that does with your pigment blending. So we'll see about that too. All right, I'm going to move this aside for a minute. Boy, they really stick once you rub them down. Let's pick up some of the green. Oh, not the right brush, but I'm going to use it now since I already have. But here's the green. Since the gray is not going to be one of our colors, I'm going to start with the green at the top on top of that oxide. Something I think the primer gray kind of does is it makes it a little ethereal. I know oxide is already that way because it has that white oxide in it, or that, creamy oxide. But that gray kind of takes the color and transforms it anyway. Let me get some green brushes. All right, this color is going to be the wild card because it's bright. And in my opinion, that gray has just turned it into exactly what we wanted it to be. It almost could have been above. It could have been the color above. I was afraid it was a little too bright. Just effortless. Again, oxide is effortless to a point, but I think that primer coat assists. It just acts as a carrier. Wow, I love that so much. So beautiful. I'll carry up a little bit and blend those into each other. Kind of amazing how well that worked. Okay, let's do a water technique on this one. I almost hesitate because I love the blends, but I do think I want you to see that. All right, so when you want to do a little water technique, you don't want an even, well, let me take that back. You could do an even mist like we did on that first one, and it's going to just evenly blend everything. What I want instead is like droplets of water, okay? These are my water brushes, and I'm not going to use them directly onto the page. I'm going to use them to splash with. But I've got my bottle of water open, so I'm just going to tap in here and soak my brush really good and then flick onto this page. The bigger the blobs, the more reaction you'll get. You'll start to see it develop. All right, I'm going to stop and let that develop a little bit because I'm known for doing too much. All right, I'm going to take a cloth. I'm going to lay it over, pick up what I can. I'm not smearing. I just want to pick up what I can. Oh, look how pretty. Ah, so good. Not too much. If I do any more, I'll be sad. I'm known for doing too much. This is what I used, by the way, my little Spellbinders bottle. Love this so much. Okay. Peel and reveal. Not that we're revealing because I'm not going to use these white edges. I'm going to use these completely as something else. Okay, we've got one more thing we're going to do before we start turning these into projects. I'm going to do it on regular cardstock because we've used two different kind of specialty cardstocks. We used watercolor and we used the blended. Let's do some things on regular cardstock in case you don't have that fancy stuff. Okay, you guys, I saw an ink blend where it looked like the beach. That's what we're going to try to do here. Okay, so I've got my colors picked out. I have a fourth color too because I might need to bring it in, but we'll see. We'll set those aside for just a second and we're going to talk about this. So this piece of cardstock here is just a half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and it is, I want to say it's PA cardstock. It's just regular white cardstock. It's one I like to use for a card base. It's like, it might be 110 pound because I picked a pretty thick one, but I didn't have it in a package, so I'm not 100% sure. But what I thought we'd do is one side we'll do pigment and we'll do that pigment layer, and one side we won't. The ink I'm using is pigment, so we're going to see how this goes. Good enough. Primer, no primer. And you'll know I'm using this as my primer. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, and I can't decide if I want to just blend him on. I think I'll blend him on because this is a juicy pad. Here's the thing about these white pads. They're foam, right? So they're real soft. So let's rub him on. So I have this brush that we'll use for it, okay? And I'm just going to put it in my hand because I'm going to try to be very gentle and pick this up because this is a strong ink. Okay, so we're going to get that on our pad. I actually want to see it. Let's get a dark color. So here's some dark green. Let's see. Okay, that's not enough. I didn't want to overdo it. I don't want to underdo it. So it looks like I can. Oh, I can press. Okay, we're good. Because I want some primer on there. Never tried this before. We're going to see how it goes. And now we're just going to put this on the page. Blending it out. And this line between is going to separate. I didn't cut this cardstock in half. I just left a line. Hard to see. You're just going to have to know. I can kind of tell that it's changing the surface color a bit. And I can kind of feel it even. This pad does not love being treated this way, I'll tell you that. Okay. So I feel like we got a pretty good layer of some primer. Now what we'll do is we'll go in, and what I have to remember is I'm doing this kind of beach scene, so I need to do my sand here and at this end. So let me get my inks. I feel like everything I'm doing today is going to be very chat worthy, so I feel like you guys are going to be talking in the comment section, and I think you should, because it's good to give your tips and tricks too. I just wanted to play, and that's what I'm doing. All right, blending brush, sand color to the bottom. You know what I should do? I should do this one first because this might pick up primer. Let's do this side first. All right, blending brush to the bottom, sand. I'm kind of steering clear of the tape a little bit because I don't want to accidentally pick up any white over there. And you can see how grabby this is. I think you can tell on screen just how grabby. All right, there's that. It's not perfect. We'll come back to it. Let's do the other. I want to see. I'm anxious. Okay, so over here. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Do you see right there? So that looks like I might have missed some of the white primer right there. Do you see that? I'll tell you this. I can feel it. I can feel it catch that white. It might not have been a bad idea to just rub it down. Okay, not a very good job. I've not done a good job, but look at the difference between the two. I've got to learn here. I got some stuff to learn. Let's see what happens if I go back into the white and add some on top. Can I erase out that line? I don't think I can. Okay, you know what I've learned? It does help the ink move, but you have to get a good layer. You have to lay it in good. Okay, so this is starting to kind of change, starting to become weird. I want to feel it. So interesting on that end. That is so interesting. It's almost like it got dirty and it grabbed. That is simply because there was pigment under there before I got here. You know what I'm going to do? Let's do this. Clean my brush a little bit, my white brush. I'm going to go back into the pigment, and this time I'm going to make sure, watch this, we're going to lay it down. I'm going to go, we're just playing. This probably won't become anything. So I'm really going to take the time to get this pigment down everywhere because I think I was just sloppy. All right, there's a little hair there. Now let's rub out. Okay, now let's do that same trick again. You can see the pigment go into my ink. No big deal. We can clean that off. That won't be a problem. All right, with the pigment down, let's see. It's a huge difference. The issue is getting your pigment on the page good. You'll even be able to see here where I didn't do well at the tape. See that? How it's grabbing? But the difference where that pigment is, I got to be honest, I think this will take a little practice. If you have I wonder if we use this as the primer. I want to do this and show y'all where you can see how poorly I laid it down over here. See how splotchy? You can see where I didn't get it where I thought I did. But right here where I really took the time. What a difference. That's so cool. Okay. You see the difference, right? That was harsh from the get-go. This little bit right here, look right here. See that blend? Versus... That's pretty crazy. Okay, I love this. Okay, let's get wild. Let's try something else. Let's just do it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rub this ink on here. This is my white primer pad. Rubbing it directly onto the surface to start with. I'm going to take my brush, do a little blend, just a light blend so I don't have any grabby spots. Okay. Then I'm going to get some blue. Let's just see. We're just learning. Let's grab some of our blue. I'm going to start off the page and on. I can tell that it's carrying further. I mean, this blue should not carry that far. That one little dab that I did. I can still see a little grabby. I think it's kind of a game changer. Let me keep going. I would normally not give up this quick, so let's keep going. I think what I'd love to see is somebody create a primer for this. There may be something. You know, you might could use that mixed media sealant that Tim Holtz has to kind of prime the page first so that all your inks would blend super well. You guys tell me in the comments if you already have some trick for this. That's really not bad, you guys. It feels very silky. On camera, it looks so splotchy. I wish y'all could see it. This even looks splotchier than it actually is in real life. Let's do some of this down there. We might can salvage this side. I'm going to pick this tape up so I can get that bottom to blend a little better. I don't feel like I'm going to salvage the left side, but I think I can salvage the right side. Then lastly, I'm going to put a little dark blue at the top up there. Just from some dimension. It's grabbing more and more. Let's see what we can do with it. The idea I had for that piece, I think will work anyway. Okay, so that was a fun experiment. Let me know if there's a primer. Let me know if there's something I should be trying to get that to do even better. Y'all saw the ones that were our favorite. We're going to stop at this. I've been blending for a while. Let's turn these into some projects. Okay, I have to show you this. I thought I clicked film, but I didn't. This was that beautiful inked, this was my favorite panel we did today. Okay, my favorite piece. I've cut it into 2 strips, 2 inches. Right. Okay, so now that I've cut the panels, I went ahead and cut this one down again. Let me tell you what size he ended up being. He is going to be 4 3/4. We'll get that out. He's going to be 4 3/4. He's going to layer on here in kind of a unique way, and then he's going to layer on here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do first. We're going to put our black and our white piece aside, and we're going to come over here. This will work with any of the cards, any of the backgrounds you did today. You just want to set your panel size, okay? So I'm going to put this into my trimmer on an angle, And I'm going to cut this apart in these staggered, not pie pieces, but these little triangles. And I'll lay them over here. I'm just twisting it and twisting it. I don't want them all the same size. I want some to be thicker and some to be thinner, but I want them to line back up like that. So let's do this one kind of deep. And we're going to keep our little gradient. Isn't that pretty? Love that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this white piece, okay, and we're going to glue these onto the white piece. I want the bottom to be glued directly, and I want the white piece to be the same width. This is for the optical illusion, okay? So I'm going to glue this directly on the bottom, but then my next piece, and once this is glued, it'll be still. But my next piece is going to have just a sliver of separation. I want you to think paint sample. This is what this reminds me of a bit, like a paint sample. And then we're going to slide this one in, and so on and so forth all the way up, okay? But what you might want to do is a little dry run, because you don't want it longer than your black piece. You want the black piece to be the background to make this really pop off the card. So we got to see where we're at. And we may have to trim it, and that's fine because we're leaving it flush at the top and bottom, so we can. I probably will have to trim this a tiny bit. Maybe not. That might work out great. Isn't that pretty, though, to take that gradient and pop it up and, like, separate it? All right, let's do it. Now, did you see my newest glue trick? I love this tip. Ready? Instead of running glue all the way across this guy and sitting him down, I have discovered if you will do dots of glue in the corners, these act like wheels. You don't need more glue than that, okay? I did 5 little dots. I'm going to come down here and watch what I can do. I can drop this way up high from where I want it. And because I have wheels now with my glue, I can roll it into place, and I have more time to work it before it sticks. You know, whenever we do the lines of glue, we put so many thin lines that they grab so quick, we don't have any time to move things around. And doing the wheels of glue, so a dot in the corners, and I promise you don't need more than that. I know you're thinking that's not enough glue, but I promise it is. Now, sliver apart from each other. If you want your slivers to be exact, you could use something here to be your divider. I'm not going to stress about that too much. I feel like the optical illusionness of it is going to hide any imperfections anyway. This was probably the one I was most excited to do. I've got several techniques I want to do with these backgrounds we made, but this is the one I was probably the most excited. You just want to make sure you keep everything where it's supposed to go. It's pretty easy because now it's kind of like a puzzle. If you're like, Maymay, I don't want to do that much ink blending. You don't have to. Find some cardstock in your stash. Let the paper do the work. Maybe you've got some cardstock that already has a pretty ink gradient, or maybe you have something that is just a pretty cardstock you wanted to try a different technique with. You can do exactly this with cardstock that's already finished in your stash. You don't have to do the ink part. I just thought the ink part was super fun. This dot technique changes the game, you guys. You really have time to put things into place with it. All right, I'm going to let that sit a second and catch, all the glue to catch, and then I'll trim it down to fit our panel. It really does remind me of a paint sample. Look, isn't that neat? I've been looking at paint, right? I was going to say somebody's been looking at paint. I've been looking at paint for our new house. So I've been staring at paint samples, which are so inspiring, by the way. Paint samples just give you so many color inspirations. I don't feel like I'm getting that straight. All right, there's our little panel piece. So pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? Now watch what happens. We're going to put it on this black, and right now that doesn't look like much, okay? We're going to put it on here, and then we're going to put it on our card. I'm going to glue it straight down. I'm going to use the dot technique again. Even if you want more dots, just use dots instead of lines, and you just can wiggle. The amount that you can wiggle is so much more. It reminds me of Legally Blonde, the bend and snap. This is the dot and wiggle. Or the dot and roll. Okay, let's bring our card front over. Now, I might pop this up. Look how gorgeous that is. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Hang on. I'm going to use my black foam dots. Have another tip for you too. If you struggle placing these, if you'll put a dot of glue on each one of these, you have wiggle time there too. Watch this. So you've got your glue dots on. Just put a little dot. This is something, I don't remember who told us this. This was years ago we learned this. Put a little dot and it just gives you a little bit of wiggle time. It's not replacing the adhesive. It just gives you a second to be able to move it into place. They act like wheels again. I think that is stunning. Can you imagine this with like with sympathy or thinking of you or just a note, or maybe you do a sentiment on the page? I just think that is beautiful. It just needs a sentiment. Love that. So pretty. So that's what you can do with one of those. But remember, we got 2 panels, so you can get 2 out of that because of the way we did the inking on the panel. This is my watercolor piece. It curled a bit, and there's another tip for that. If you have a heat press or an iron in your room, just iron it flat. It'll be perfect. I iron in the sewing room all the time. We have to iron like patterns and things to get them flat. Okay, this one I want to do from something I saw on Pinterest years ago. This was not even recently. I mean, I saw this idea forever ago, and I've been wanting to do it, but I just didn't have the right paper for it. First, I'm going to cut those little white edges off because we don't need them, okay? Then I'm going to cut this to fit on the front of a card in some strips, okay? So what I want to do, I think I want it to be, if the front of a card is 5.5, let's do 3 inches. So watch what I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to cut this like this. Now, this is not wasted. I can use this somewhere. This is cardstock we've created. We can use for something else. I'm going to put that one aside. This is the one I want to use. Now, I want to cut between each of these colors. So I'm getting myself that strip. And let me see what size this strip is. This strip ended up being 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to get 3/4 of an inch orange. Then I'm going to get 3/4 of an inch of the next color. And I'm going to just keep going. I'm not worried too much about how the colors are blending like that, because that's the point. We blended this, so we want it to do that. So now I'll go to 3/4 again. So see how our blend is going to continue from one to the other. I think that's so pretty. Then another one. Just get as many 3/4 as you can. And honestly, I wasn't going for rainbow here. I just did. So if you end up missing one of the colors, if one of the colors won't work, it's no big deal. Also, let me show you this. I'm going to flip this over like this, and I'm going to add a piece of yellow tape here. I flipped it over so I don't rip it. I'm going to use some yellow tape to help me hold that down. And then we have this little piece, which we could keep. I'm not going to. That's a little too small for me today. Not in the mood for those tiny scraps. Put this aside and bring this over. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to get a punch. Aren't those pretty? Hang on. So I have this little 5/8 inch heart punch, which is about the smallest shaped punch I have. So I was going to do this project going this way, but I've decided I'm going to turn it. So I'm going to turn this all here. And what I want to do is I want to punch each one of these with the same little image, okay? So I'm going to come to the end, and this is going to be a little bit difficult, honestly. But what I may do, I want to make sure that I line them all up to the end, and I'm going to eyeball center. I may get the first one done and use it to help me line up the rest. So I'm all the way to the edge over here. I'm eyeball top and bottom. Let's punch. Don't waste this little guy. We can use him. So see how cute that is? Now, if they all match, we're good. So what I may do, because I don't want to mess up, I've worked too hard on this, is I think I'll trace them. Just make sure when you're tracing them that you're putting them in the same spot on each strip. So what I'm doing is when I'm picking them up, see how I'm putting them right back in place? I'm picking them up the way they go, stacking them the way they go, flipping it over, and tracing. They still won't be perfect, but again, when we're doing something so graphic like this, your eye won't be able to pick that out. Now I'm going to run through and punch so I can use those. And remember, keep these little guys. So I got a white card base and I want this black background. And I gave myself a tiny little sliver around the ends. I don't want to glue it down yet. I feel like this is too long. I think we can obviously see that it is because I want to place it on here. So I can lose a color. I can lose red, or I might could pull this one out and let my blend go like that. Look, it works fine. And then I get to keep the orange one for something else. And then I might can pull one of these out. I might can pull this solid green out because see how those pull together? And that's so cool. I love that. That's neat. Okay, so let's lay them out temporarily. Now, the other thing you can do, I just want mine to go straight down the page, but you could, and probably would have done this before, you could have cut these at an angle, cut it like this or something before you do your punching, and then you could have them come out different lengths. You could do it now. You could just slide it in, like you could put one here. Watch, I'll show you. You could do one here, and then one here, you know, and just let them stagger out the page. You'd have to go further in. You can see why I don't want to do this one. This is going to be too hard for me to do because that'll be a lot to line up. Not really. Start with this one, work your way back. Super cute, right? But I want them all to be even. I want them all to come out here like this because I want to see all the color that I can. And I want them to come off the edge of the page. Let's see how we need to stack them. I'm sitting this on a piece of white cardstock so we can see it. I can't find my centering tape, but I do have my ruler. So I'll sit this here like this, and then we'll center this guy. And when you're centering, you just want to be able to see the same amount of dots on both sides. So right, the same measure here. So this is 2, and this would be 3/4. So I need to drop back 1 to make them even. Okay, so that's the center. So now what we'll do is we'll take the center of our stripes, which is the one that's got the little bit of green on it, and he'll get placed right here. So let's go ahead and place him down. I'm going to glue him directly down only because I don't want to fight foam at this point. I don't think I could get the foam lined up as well as I can the glue. I love how that looks. I think that looks pretty. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to use foam on these guys. I'm going to pop them up. All right, I'm using my dot setter. Watch this. Without peeling this backer up, this has that filled in space. If you take your little piece and you press and twist, he'll pick up. So that way you don't have to peel that guy off. I was going to peel it all off because, you know, the one that comes with it doesn't have that extra backer, but you don't have to do that. Just push and twist. All right, so now these guys are going to live out here. I know y'all have seen this card before. Like every time I go on like Pinterest or anything, this card is recommended to me. So I'm just going to line this little guy up out here to the side. And I'm eyeballing it, y'all, which is probably not the smartest thing to do. But I am having to pick it up and look at it somewhat. Oh, it's cute. It's so graphic that it kind of hides any imperfections. Now this is just fun, right? Look how cute and graphic, and we got to do ink blending and the whole 9 yards. Now, again, you don't have to ink blend to do this card. I just made that background and wanted to be able to use it in something I felt would be striking like this. But you could do this with regular cardstock. You could do this with just red, yellow, green, blue. You could just do it like a rainbow. I just made the background and thought, what's a cool way to show it off? And I think that looks pretty cool. All right, that's 2. Let's do one more together. This background is another one I'm in love with, and this is just screaming for this card, this stamp set that I have. Let me show you. I'm going to sit this kind of in the middle. This is a stamp set we have called Sorry, and every time I do a background like this, this is the stamp set I think of. I just think these would be so pretty, kind of on and off of here like this. And there's a couple of them, so we can do one that way and one that way. And I might could do all my stamping at one time here. Let's see. There's 3 that we did. Let's look at all of our card fronts. Now check this one out. It's really curled. This was the one that I added a little water to kind of at the end. I just need to iron it flat, and that's a usable card base. Then, this is the one we started with. The thing about that pigment is it really develops later as it sits. That's so pretty. You could do it sideways or up and down, or you could cut it up into something like this. Then we did this one, which was the one using these little brushes here, the little bristle brushes. I like how this one turned out. I think that one's really pretty. And we also did this one, and I didn't get to that one yet. The other thing I wanted to tell you was, I think the one that I thought I could salvage, I think you could really use this like the beach, maybe in this kind of situation like this on that little panel. I don't think that was wasted. I think we could make that happen, right? So look at all the fun we had today and how much we did and what we could turn into cards, and there's so much more we could do. Another thing for this one that's a little bit curled because of the water, run it through an embossing folder and there's a whole other look. So many things you can do, but what a great way to get into your craft room and play when you have some time. I spent a couple hours here just having fun. I ended up getting 3 cards and all these card bases that I can use for something else. And I just think it was super fun. I hope you enjoyed this little time with me today. It was not, it's not really like a tutorial necessarily. I just wanted to play and I wanted to bring you along and maybe you learned something new. If you liked anything I used today, that's always linked in the description below. If you have questions, if you have anything that we can help you with, you can reach out to us at info@maymaymadeit.com. We're always happy to help in any way that we can. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Till next time. Bye now.